On today's episode of the Glue Guys, we're going to dive into the 76ers Nets preseason battle. And Brian and I are going to manufacture some tension around Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving. I'm going to argue one side that the Nets should make the trade. Brian's going to argue the other. And then we're going to talk about Terrence Williams and dental scans.
It's real for me, Mike. The tension's real.
Welcome back to the Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian. Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys, Netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself behind that paywall, TheAthletic.com. Brian?
Michael.
The Nets are back. How you feeling, buddy?
Oh, good.
We're a week away. One week, Brian.
Just a week. We streamed the game last night on Twitch. Had a blast. Fun times. For the first 5 minutes or so, and then,
people are really down on
and
the
then
game.
Despaired. It was pure despair. I'm not that despairing.
People are really like, this team is a disaster. It's a debacle right now. I'm like,
Who?
What's
Who's
happening?
Like, quote your sources.
One
guy.
person
A
on
guy
Twitter.
on Twitter. Yeah.
I extrapolate
Classic.
it. It wasn't It wasn't a great preseason game.
And look at that. Even you're dropping the ball in preseason. Look, we all got to shake the rust off.
So discombobulated. Yeah. And before we go any further in the show, okay. I just want to simply say this podcast is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. Get your TV together with the best of live and on demand. To learn more at directtv.com.
Good.
So we're not going to do a full game review. Obviously, we're not masochists. Would that be the correct word?
Yeah.
But the one moment I like to really pinpoint, and this was the purest of delights for me.
I got a take.
Second quarter, Kevin Durant's on the floor with Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas brings up the ball, pull up three, doesn't even look Kevin Durant's way, and he hits it. And it's like, that's what I've been waiting. I've been waiting all from the moment they drafted Cam Thomas. And then we saw him in this summer league and just totally disregard Brandon Knight.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for the moment when he's on the floor with KD and he disregards Kevin Durant, but yet hits the shot. And I got it. I'm satiated. I don't need to watch basketball anymore for the rest of the year.
We talked about this a little while it was happening on the stream, and everyone was clamoring for, like, where is Cam Thomas now that it's, it was third and fourth quarters, or like, this is not nearly enough Cam Thomas. And I took this as two things. It's like, this is an acknowledgement of, like, guys, don't get used to seeing a ton of Cam Thomas in regular rotation minutes. And two, like, that may have been slightly like, hey, Cam, like, dude, this is not an outcomes-oriented business right now. We're in process mode, and your process is a little hinky. We gotta get this together a little bit.
Are you purposefully saying process and Sam Hinkie because
that might have been just an actual, like, subconscious. It could have been a
Freudian basketball.
Truly, but like, because. And the shot goes in, which is Cam Thomas's biggest problem, right? This is right now his biggest problem because, like, he is making all of these, like, really difficult and, shots that come out of broken plays that he himself sort of, like, is a participant in breaking in a lot of ways. And, like, so the outcome is great. And the problem is that it's an outcome born from, like, a problem that he himself invents, and, like, what we are as a championship team is a team that's going to be really about, like, building a whole ethos around how to set up a play, how to set up an offense, and that dude does not seem to want to get that at the moment.
No, there was a little. This is not even manufactured tension. There was, in the second half, I did see a little bit of an evolution.
I think I saw some too. He had one little, like, dime to Millsap that was slick.
Again, that I'm extrapolating as like he learned his lesson.
Right.
Now he had two straight turnovers that were, like, completely embarrassing. I think it was third quarter. I forget when I was watching it, but that, like, he just had his pocket was picked, Brian. It was picked clean twice on two straight possessions. Which is a little disorienting, and he was on the floor with James Harden at that point, and Harden I don't know if this was, like, I don't know how targeted this was, but Harden was standing in the corner, like, in the shooter spot for three, just, like, letting Cam bring up the ball, letting him get his pocket picked twice, and then James Harden was like, okay, now I'm gonna bring up the ball. Like
Yeah.
that was fun, Cam. I'm glad
Yeah.
we shared the court together. But I'm gonna play basketball now, and you're gonna kind of watch me play basketball.
Yeah. Which, by the way, James himself looked a little rusty, Michael.
People are, but like, and then
It's fine.
to do this thing, I know he had 5 turnovers, but then if you look at his other stats, 21 points, 4 assists,
Yeah,
4 rebounds,
that's fine.
8 for 14 from the floor. He just didn't go to the line. Like if he went to the line, he would have a 30-point game. He had
Right.
2 free throws. So the Cam Thomas of it all, I do think.
Yeah.
What?
Well, saying you
were
get
you
what I mean with like the outcome, right? Like it's like if you're playing poker
100%.
and you like make stupid bets and sometimes you win, like that's not generally seen as good as playing it well, you know.
Right, like if you're waiting on the river for everything, and you happen to hit a couple of rivers, and you're like, "This is the way you play."
This
poker.
is the way you play. Right. Exactly.
The riverboat gambler, Cam Thomas,
Right. Exactly. Ooh, okay,
the
here we go.
Louisiana, Louisiana.
Now we're doing it.
But I did think so. There was not only did Nash do this with Cam Thomas, like he put him on the floor with Kevin Durant, because I mean, we're gonna see that in the regular season, and as you said to the people on Twitch, it's like it's not like we're gonna see this like 30 minutes a game. You're gonna see it at various points, and he's gonna be brought along slowly at some level, unless if Kyrie Irving like truly disappears, which we'll talk about. He also did it with David Duke Jr. David Duke Jr. was on the floor, I think, with Harden at points. There was like a David Duke, Harden, Joe Harris, Paul Millsap, James Johnson lineup that was out there. So I did like that Nash was like, hey, it's a preseason game. Some of our starters are playing besides Kyrie Irving. Let's see how like the young guys play with those guys, because we're gonna have to see if they're valuable. I mean, it's a pretty big. David Duke did not shoot the ball in his 11 minutes of play, but he did play with James Harden, and that maybe portends a role in the future. Let me ask you this: there was a starting lineup
Okay.
for this game, as there is for every game.
Good.
The starting lineup for this game that did not include Kyrie Irving was Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, James Harden, and Blake Griffin. Do you think that's the starting lineup without Kyrie? Whether it's we have Kyrie for half the season, or whether the Nets are like, hey, Kyrie, you're just going to stay home. Does that feel like the lineup that Nash is going to try out there probably the most?
Probably, yeah. I mean, like, probably the most is an interesting way of putting it. Because like last night, LaMarcus Aldridge and Nick Claxton were DNP'd. Or at least Claxton had like a non-COVID illness or something. Anyways, I feel like LaMarcus,
like funny now.
Yeah.
They're always like, he's sick, not COVID.
not COVID.
Hey guys, everyone.
Don't get crazy.
Because can I just say, if someone on this team gets COVID that isn't Kyrie Irving, and like everyone's just going to blame Kyrie, even though if he doesn't have it.
There
like,
it is.
He's just going to be the center of all diseases.
Perfect. To add more to it. Anyways, but like it was a problem from the start that like we didn't have anyone to defend Joel Embiid. He just like rolled out of bed and dropped 15 points or whatever in the first quarter. It's like, all right, well, obviously Blake Griffin shouldn't be tasked with this much longer.
Don't you feel bad for Blake? It's a preseason game on ESPN2.
Yeah.
And he has to be like, I have to guard Joel Embiid. Like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't know if Joel Embiid's going to try to like make a point out of this pointless game. I felt bad for Blake in that moment.
Yeah, I guess he did. I guess he took that to heart.
8 minutes, Embiid had 14 points.
Right.
And 3 assists.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
So he had a good first quarter. So like in that very specific instance, I maybe would have been a quick pull for Claxton or LaMarcus or somebody doing something there. But in general, yeah. I mean, I think Bruce Brown, if that's like the one kind of like the lone piece that you swap in or out for Kyrie Irving, as the complementary player, is fun, makes sense. I like it. I like it as a radically different look. I like it as basically now James Harden does his natural, leading the offense thing, as he mostly did anyways when Kyrie was in there, except, obviously there's a whole lot of difference between what Bruce Brown does and Kyrie does. But yeah, I mean, in general, I think that's probably the lineup we're going to roll out with.
Yeah, and I think it's also the situation where, like, so you could put Patty Mills in for Bruce Brown, right? So you have another shooter on the floor But then you're obviously Patty Mills is not as good at defense and does like plays a completely different style of basketball than Patty Mills. And I think like the idea with Mills is that he's just going to be sort of the 6-man bench scorer playing in that second unit, helping the bench unit with whether it's Harden or KD. He's just going to be with one of those two guys on the bench units. And like the Nets are really going to try to expand leads by having Patty Mills plus or not Kyrie, James Harden on the floor for bench units. I guess Javon Carter is really trying to make a statement.
He's doing it.
He's doing the Javon Carter thing where he picks up guys like 3/4 of the way up the court. He shot 16 shots last night, 4 for 7 from 3. He shot really well from 3 previously so far in the preseason. And frankly, like he was as good of a 3-point shooter, at least percentage wise, that Landry Shamet was, but he's also a much better like defender.
I'll say this: what's missing from Javon Carter, and this might be small sample size theater, is having watched a lot of Kyrie Irving and him being like just maybe the best point guard finisher in basketball. Yeah. It's you can see that there's not a whole lot of confidence in finishing with contact from Javon Carter.
Yeah, and this is that situation where we call Javon Carter a point guard, and then classically we think of a point guard as a guy who can handle the ball really well, get to the hoop, and maybe get fouled, right? Well, like Javon Carter's just kind of like a short, kind of like Bruce Brown.
He's more Bruce
short
Brown,
power forward, but he in fact can shoot threes where Bruce Brown is still evolving.
He's like where Bruce Brown should be in like 3 years. That's where like Bruce Brown should evolve too.
And Bruce Brown should be better, I think.
And Bruce Brown, it would be better because he's a better finisher. Like he's already got better instincts for off-ball stuff and all kinds of things like that.
Can I ask you, what have you thought about James Johnson? We got 19 minutes of James Johnson in this game. I'm kind of in the middle zone with him because like I love what I love? I love his bench celebrations. Like he was super into it in the Bucks Nets preseason game. Like he was celebrating every bucket at the end of the game. And there's a really good story in ESPN about how like the entire team, when they were out in San Diego, they went to Joe Tsai's palatial Pacific estate in San Diego, and they played cornhole and are you talking?
I was saying palatial Pacific estate. It was just a nice. That was beautiful.
But you weren't saying the words, right?
No, I was just mouthing it. Yeah.
Palatial Pacific estate.
Yeah, beautiful.
And how Harden was like, we kind of have a quiet group this year, and we need to do more things like this to kind of get the energy out. And I agree. Like we had talked about this. I'm kind of worried a little bit about. It's like so many veterans that like is there going to be it just feels like everyone's kind of punching that clock, getting in, opening up their briefcase. They've got the Rubbermaid,
right?
Popping open the Rubbermaid. There's some celery in there because their wife's worried about their heart condition recently, but there's also a little snack in the lunch that they made, like a little, and everyone's kind of like to themselves, and maybe they'll gather around the water cooler to talk about the latest episode of Succession. But beyond that, it's really it's just a professional vibe. The Christmas party won't be that lit this year because it's just a bunch of.
They're the kind of guys that get around together and they're talking about who's got a good CPA they could use. They're just like, who's your CPA?
Hey, did you refi? Did you refi this year?
Yeah.
Interest rates are low.
Yeah.
So that's the conversations that they're having.
Yeah.
And I miss the Theo Pinson vibe. And I think James Johnson, to bring it back, he has good energy. And I think this matters. He has good energy on the sidelines. Day'Ron Sharpe has excellent energy. And another North Carolina grad, they must teach that. It must be one of the actual few courses that they teach in North Carolina. I want to see more from Kessler Edwards, but
you're not going to get it. That's for sure.
I'm not going to get it. Yeah. On the court, I don't know how I feel about James Johnson. Totally. I think I think we need like. More games.
Yeah, veteran preseason. I mean, we always forget this as fans, just the level of enthusiasm we have for wanting to see things faster, unveil faster. And like, I feel like guys like Millsap in their late 30s, having played a lifetime of basketball, are just like, I I'm not going to get excited for preseason. I'm not going to work hard. It's just not going to happen. Like we're not playing even regular season basketball game, which itself is something that I probably will mail in. Like it's just we're mailing in the mail in. It's so far removed from a priority. So I really try not to read too much into it, especially for guys with like incredibly long careers and proven track records and stuff like that. I mean, like James Johnson's like track record is it's not like it's a worthwhile question because like his track record isn't super great or whatever, or he's just like a normal veteran. But like I will say that like you're right in that he's just really not looking for his shot at the moment. I don't know what his shot is to look for. So he just
Right.
is
I
sort
actually
of,
think
yeah,
that's He doesn't have like Jeff Green had a defined.
right.
I shoot threes or I dunk.
Yeah.
And like James Johnson, I know we're kind of told that he can shoot a little bit, and then also he can handle the ball and distribute on some level. It's just like I'm just interested to see where he goes, and we have this log jam of big men: Nick Claxton, Aldridge, Blake, James Johnson. James Johnson's more of like a wingy guy.
Yeah.
Um,
In the Bucks
just
game, he had a
interested to see
couple
what
of plays that were like, oh, like there you go, like here's your bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm excited about him.
Yeah,
I'm excited about his energy.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. But you're right though that like there is like going to be a dearth of energetic people. Cam Thomas himself seems too like laser focused on like cracking the rotation to be interesting, like off the court, or like like enthusiastic. He's just like I just so want to play right now. Don't talk
He
to me.
doesn't even care when he hits game winners.
Yeah.
He has no emotion about it.
Yeah. And I like that as like just an arc for the season, like a narrative arc. Like it is also like I do want some resistance there just so that we have something to talk about during the regular season, because that feels like in the fandom going to be a source of tension for people, which in a regular season, like by February, I think like when we're just sort of and I don't even want to get into it, but if like the Kyrie Irving drama is the only thing to talk about, it's gonna suck so bad. It already sucks. I'm so exhausted by it. Yeah.
I do think, and we have a great segment coming up, manufactured tension. Brian and I are going to each take a different side of a debate. That's what manufactured tension is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be pro trading for Ben Simmons and trading away Kyrie Irving to get Ben Simmons, and you're gonna defend your boy, Kyrie Irving.
True boy.
I do think this, like, I don't know. Is this dumb to say that the vaccine conversation is going to die down a little bit when there's actual games being played? Because right now there's nothing. The only thing that people talk about in the NBA are Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving's lack of vaccination. That's it. And once games are being played, then we could talk about, have you seen De'Aaron Fox this year? Like you have all those Luka Doncic, MVP.
Yeah.
So, we get maybe a reprieve a bit, but then if Kyrie, like, did you see Nash's quote last night?
I think I did. If you're
where
thinking
they
the one
asked him, they asked him basically like, hey Steve, what are you thinking? Kyrie can now obviously practice with the team, but there's a question up in the air, like he can't play home games. He technically could play road games. What do you think? And he says, we're just trying to take our time to figure out what everything means. And it's like, oh my God. Like, I feel bad for Nash.
Yeah.
The thing is, they know they had to have had a conversation already with Kyrie Irving to say whether, hey man, if you don't get it, you're not playing, or to say to him, you're getting it. I think I don't know if you saw this. Frank Isola had said on his SiriusXM show that the Nets had, and I apologize if this is incorrect, but that the Nets had made a vaccine appointment for Kyrie that Kyrie said he was going to go to, and then he just didn't.
That's a hot tip, Frank. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I saw. So again, this is a tweet of someone aggregating what Frank Isola said on SiriusXM. So like, it could be completely
it comes
wrong.
from the top. It comes from the top. Yeah.
But that would line up with how Sean Marks had been talking about Kyrie Irving's vaccination status up until a week ago, right? Because he'd been acting kind of confident that he was going to get it. Even James Harden and KD were like basically hinting that, yeah, Kyrie's going to get it. And then it seems like something has shifted and it's gone to a place where like the Nets are now, and it's been reported that the Nets really have no clue what's happening with, whether Kyrie will in fact get it. And it would make sense that they had an appointment for him and he was eventually like, I'm not going to do that. Which is super. Hey, it's super great. What a great time to be a fan.
Did you see the Woj thing that elite aggregation expert Alex Sturm was
Yeah,
passed
you
around?
got a lot of people picking up on that. That was so
He
great.
crushed that one. And I watched that thing live. And it was on the ESPN2 feed and Woj was talking about it. And I really felt like Woj, and I mean, this is just my read on it, Woj was tasked with filling up a whole lot of dead air about a thing that isn't very interesting, which is like, is Kyrie going to get vaccinated? And my sense of it was like, I don't think that was like So, anyways, the reporting was that like Sean Marks and like Kevin Durant and James Harden were all going to like make a decision about Kyrie Irving and like Josiah or something. And I think what he just meant to be saying was that, like, you know, all of the people that are like in decision making positions, plus also, you know, they'll like the players will weigh in themselves, are going to obviously think about what to do here, which isn't like a hot take. There's nothing there, but it made it sound like there's going to be like a tribunal of which like Kevin Durant and James Harden are going to be like primary decision makers, which, you know, it's possible. I don't know. That seems kind of weird to me. It just felt more like he was trying to fill up some dead air on a national broadcast.
I don't know. I mean, Woj is like pretty.
I get it. I know what it's, but like it sounded more formal than I think people took it to mean something more formal than how he was trying to communicate it.
Sure. Yeah. And our boy Alec, he got
it passed around.
He got it passed around, and as I'm going through his tweets, because that got like 1,300 retweets, and like people like Deezus and Mero, I think, were retweeting it, and there were a bunch of like big name people. He had another tweet, and like, this is why I love Twitter. He said James Harden's continued refusal to take catch and shoot threes is weird, and that got it got 1,100 likes. I'm like, this is so, I love Twitter. I love Nets Twitter specifically. Yeah. Like people really appreciate that type of tweet. You know, it's excellent.
True that.
So let's just take a quick break. Coming back, we are going to do manufacturer tension. We're going to have the conversation of whether the Nets should in fact trade Kyrie Irving for Ben Simmons. Coming back after the break. All right, Brian.
Okay.
So this is our new segment, and this is my fault. We were planning to have a drop in the business. A drop. It's a music cue that would let you know that, hey, we're entering manufacturer tension. It used to be something we used to do a lot more often, but we don't do it as much.
We're gonna bring it back though, Mike. We have the tech.
So manufacturer tension. This is a new segment. Brian and I agree too much.
It's been a problem. It's been. I'm gonna say right now that's been a problem for us, Mike. Okay.
I agree with you. No, just kidding. Sorry, such an idiot. And I think we've noticed that it seems like people like debate and disagreement. It seems to be a pattern that is successful.
Yeah.
In media, and you and I are followers of trends.
Coastal media.
That's why we're on TikTok.
Puppets, even I would say potentially.
Yeah, we're really puppets. Yeah, we're pawns. Kyrie.
Pawn puppets.
So this is kind of a joke, but we're doing manufacturer tension, Ben Simmons versus Kyrie Irving. I'll set the stage a bit before we dive into our roles.
Okay.
I mean, as screwed up and as weird as the Kyrie Irving situation is, and I guess I shouldn't even call it like screwed up and weird. Like, there are plenty, as much as I disagree with people not wanting to take the vaccine and, you know, them saying it's a personal decision, even though it affects, by not taking the vaccine, you're affecting everyone around you and everyone you meet and come in contact with. And you're actually affecting then a butterfly effect of people that you will never meet, but you are passing along, you know, a disease potentially. It's not, I shouldn't say it's weird, because there are people that don't want to take the vaccine. The Ben Simmons situation is straight up weird. Mm-hmm. We got reporting from Woj during the day yesterday that Ben Simmons was going to return to Philadelphia at some point this week. What happened was at some point, either during the game last night or right before the game, Ben Simmons showed up to some door at the practice facility or the arena, calling the Sixers and saying, hey, I need to be let in because I need to be taking my COVID test. They had no clue he was flying in. They were completely surprised by the fact that Ben Simmons suddenly showed up. And we're probably going to get more information about this immediately after we record the show. But they have no clue what he's going to be like being on the team. They don't know if he's going to play or if he's just showing up to get his money and then he's going to fake an injury. There's so many different possibilities. But we sit here and we've heard plenty of conversation about Kyrie Irving and whether or not the Nets would in fact trade Kyrie. And for the process of this episode, let's just assume that things get so bad that the Nets begin thinking maybe we need to look around for Kyrie. And as per Nick Wright has reported, as we've talked about before, that Kyrie Irving has put out there that he will retire if he's traded, right? And then other people have kind of said that too. League insiders believe, and I think that's really the best way to classify it. It's that league insiders, basically team executives, assume that Kyrie will just retire if he's traded from the Nets. But hey, we gotta work with the chips that we got. The Sixers want to get rid of Ben Simmons. They're getting no packages that are worth it. And the Nets have an interesting situation with Kyrie Irving. And plenty of people have brought up, hey, swap one for the other. Kyrie Irving goes to Philly, which is still very close to New Jersey, where he's from. And Ben Simmons moves up to Brooklyn, and everyone is happy. Now, Brian, tell the people what side you're going to be on.
I'll be representing the camp of do not trade Kyrie Irving for Ben Simmons. That's where I am, and luckily that's how I actually feel. Or is it? Who knows? How can you know? You'll never know. But I'll defend it to the death. Like I'm not going to move off this point.
And the weapon I will be picking up, the nice mace, pointy, spiky mace, is Ben Simmons.
He is a mace. Yeah.
I will advocate for Ben Simmons to Brooklyn.
Because maces are flawed, Mike. That's the problem with a mace. They're heavy and they're not spiky enough. Not nearly.
Yeah.
My taste.
Like, I feel like I could get hit by a mace. I could survive.
Yeah.
Just depends on where you hit
depends
me.
Where. Yeah.
A sword.
You don't want to. I mean, it's sort of the same idea. It depends where you get hit with the sword, right? Get hit with the foot. You might be okay.
If it was a samurai sword from Kill Bill, that thing's cutting me in half.
You want to avoid the neck and the head.
Cutting you in half.
Yeah.
You need a headshot to really get
That's
the
true.
mace.
Fair enough.
And even then, who knows?
Yeah.
I have a thick skull.
You could really take a punch.
Smelches are known to have thick skulls.
Yeah,
Very
really interesting.
Yeah.
You ever been in a fight, Mike? Just before we derail.
All the time.
Yeah. Good.
Constantly.
Good.
With myself.
Yeah. Good. Perfect.
I'm Ed Norton in Fight Club.
Got it.
Okay. I will let you start off. Brian, why do you think Kyrie Irving should be on the Nets?
So just to contextualize this argument, I want to make sure that we're operating from the same place. Like we're talking about today, right? With the information that we have in hand, what do we know going into this season, right? The point is, first point, we don't know enough to know anything about the Kyrie Irving situation, both in the local ordinance municipality POV. Who knows?
How dare you take my word? That is my word, and you know this is. I'm going to argue. With local ordinance.
Michael, this is my ordinance.
Brian,
this is my
Brian,
yeah.
That's my word, and you're already
this is
too
manufactured.
Such dishonor.
This is too manufactured. You can't fight me on every point. We don't know what's going to happen, both from the legal perspective or from even Kyrie's own. Like as you say yourself, Frank Isola, from the top, got very good information that it's incredibly likely. That's incredibly likely that he had an appointment. So. He agreed to an appointment and then didn't end up getting it. But the idea that he said yes to the appointment, there's some evidence to suggest.
Haven't we all said, "Oh, I'm going to show up and get my teeth cleaned and not show up to the dentist's office"?
But
haven't we done that?
I've never done that.
Who are we?
I've never made an appointment to the dentist and just no-showed them. Have you? I've never done that. That's cruel.
But my dentist is my stepfather.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
there's a whole other set of
If
issues
you did.
going on. You're not my father. Except my stepbrother definitely listens to this show, so I love you.
That's a good joke, though. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to structure it that way. First point is we don't have enough information to trade Kyrie Irving at all yet because he could get a vaccination at any time. Point two, he is so much better than Ben Simmons. It is not even close to comparable on that level. Ben Simmons is a flawed basketball player. He's tall Bruce Brown. It goes without saying that Kyrie Irving is just a more effective weapon in a million ways. I don't want to hear about the defense thing with Ben Simmons. It is like great.
You're gonna hear about just to let you know you're gonna hear about the defense. I'm being respectful right now, but you're gonna hear about the defense. Okay,
fine. I'll hear about that. point three that I'll throw out there. Point three. Simmons is a worse kind of unpredictable in terms of where he's at mentally in his interest in the game.
Absolutely not.
He is.
No, there's no. I'm not going to even allow you to continue this argument.
He is playing. He's doing the same thing with less.
Stuttering Joe Biden over there.
With even less like terra firma to work with, because basically all we know about Ben Simmons is that he was a little bit upset that he got criticism from his coach and the other star player on his team about how badly he sucked in the playoffs. That was enough for him to like go in full exile mode and blow the whole thing up. That's a problem in two ways. One, you did actually suck during the playoffs, right? That actually happened. You sucked. And then two, you couldn't just take it on the chin. You couldn't wear that failure. You had to go be a little, butthurt weirdo about it and go to LA and pretend to get traded when you weren't.
There's absolutely no way you can argue that Ben Simmons's like entire situation is more difficult to deal with than Kyrie Irving. Again, Nets pod here. Love Kyrie Irving. He's a better player than Ben Simmons. I will concede that point.
Okay, point one. We're off to a good start.
May not play at the best case scenario right now in this moment that we're living in. Like you talked about, these are your ground rules. So I'm living in your box. Okay, you built a box. I jumped in.
Get in my box.
I have a little blanket. I'm living in your box. Okay,
it's a rat's nest in here, Mike. You're gonna need more than a blanket. You're gonna
bring Indiana Jones. It's a snake pit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a trap.
I hate snakes. Here's the thing. Best case scenario, Kyrie Irving doesn't play in half of the home games, both in the regular season and the postseason. That's the current set of rules that we're living in right now. Ben Simmons, from all we're being told, will actually play basketball games if he's traded to anywhere except for Philadelphia. He is so desperate to get out of Philadelphia. He'll play in Sacramento. Have you been to Sacramento, Brian?
Never.
All they have is
go.
hot air balloons. That's all they've got.
What is it? Hot air balloons?
Big hot air balloon city.
That's true.
It's a
is that a
big
thing?
hot air balloon city. Yeah, they really value their hot air balloons. And that's how desperate. This is a guy. I don't think he still did. He dated a Jenner, the Kardashian extended. So he's a man who likes the glamour and the glitz, and yet he's willing.
That's a point for you. That sounds bad to me.
Sacramento. Yeah. He's willing to. This is in his soul. He wants to be famous and be like a LeBron level basketball player, and yet he's willing to go to Sacramento to get away from Philadelphia.
That sounds like a person who's deranged. His expectations versus reality. No. It's like, I want to be famous in Sacramento.
Kyrie's situation, again, is so unpredictable. Mm-hmm. The Nets completely have no understanding. Talk about Steve Nash's quote last night, where he was like, I just don't I don't know. I don't know what the situation is right now. They don't know, and Kevin Durant and James Harden, to focus back on them. So I think they are the first wall for Kyrie. They're protecting him on some level, right? Where they're like, hey, we don't even ask him about it. It's just not a thing we talk about. Kyrie will be there. We want him to be here, but we don't even really talk to him about it. Do you remember how dedicated James Harden was to trying to win a championship? He played on one leg in a playoff series to try to push this team past the second round, past the Milwaukee Bucks, to get him to a place where maybe then KD could continue to carry the team. He could be healthier, and then they win a championship together. James Harden was so desperate. He is so desperate to win a championship. And he's always been a guy in his career who he wants to bring in Chris Paul. He didn't feel like Chris Paul could really help him win that championship, so he got him out of town, brings in Russell Westbrook to Houston, thought Russell Westbrook would work, didn't work. He pushes him out of town. He pushes himself out of Houston to go to Brooklyn. He made things very uncomfortable because he wants to go to play in Brooklyn, which is where he's at, to win a championship. I don't know how much longer that those two guys are going to be super chill bros about the Kyrie Irving situation, getting asked about it every day. Every city they go to, that's going to be the question that they're going to be asked about. You can already see Steve Nash is getting annoyed sort of answering these Kyrie questions. And Steve Nash is a saint. So the situations, what the Nets are dealing with is more annoying than if Ben Simmons is traded. Like if Ben Simmons is traded to another team, I think he's going to be a choir boy. He's going to be so happy that he's somewhere else. That immediately all those Ben Simmons issues, in the same way that Harden had his issues in Houston, traded to Brooklyn, we all love James Harden now. He's everyone's favorite basketball player.
Let me just address one of your points there. So you're looking at this from the perspective of James Harden, and James Harden, to your point, is ravenous for a championship. He is he is frothing at the mouth, and he has a team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, both guys with clutch credentials out the wazoo, championship experience. And you're trying to tell me that he would be in favor of trading one of those guys for the player with the most public and humiliating playoff implosion in recent NBA history. That's going to be the swap that makes James Harden feel pretty comfortable about going into the postseason. I feel like James Harden might veto this on its face. He himself, it might not get through even James Harden, non-GM. To get into the war room and to negotiate this thing.
I think James Harden's smart enough to realize that any amount of Ben Simmons is better than no Kyrie. The Nets may not have Kyrie. So let me ask you this, okay? Do you think the Nets should strategically become the 5th seed so that they have more road games in the playoffs than home games? So they get more, like, is that the world that you want? Because obviously if they're the 1 or 2 seed, more home games, less Kyrie. So you want them to tank part of the regular season just so they can keep Kyrie. Is that what you're telling me? That seems like what you're telling me.
What I'm trying to tell you is that we don't have enough information. And also, can I say this one thing before we go any further? Respect all of our HIPAAs. Can you respect our HIPAA going forward? if you would. We don't know. We don't know. And if he really starts stacking DNPs for home games going into the season, I feel like the likelihood that he gets the vaccine increases with each DNP. You can tell me squinting.
I don't think you know that. I will admit,
squinting because I'm making a point that I don't myself agree with. That's what that face is.
I do think it's a possibility that Eric Adams, the Brooklyn Borough president, who would likely probably be mayor. I'm pretty sure he's going to be mayor unless something totally crazy happens. That they do lift the ordinance in some way or make an exemption, not just for Kyrie Irving, but like in general, they make an exemption for performers. Because I wouldn't even say athletes, but like they may do something around performance in Broadway, and I don't know. And I think it's just possible that, and hopefully, Merck has a COVID pill that they're asking for authorization for. Do you know you have to take, like, I was reading it, you have to take 8 pills for 10 days, 8 pills a day over 10 days for this Merck COVID pill.
Okay.
Wouldn't you rather just get the vaccine? Like, that's, again, it's a thing of like, the Merck pill is to help you if you get COVID, vaccine, non-vaccine. Obviously, you have a much higher chance. Just get a vaccine. Would you rather take, like, if you're so afraid of science?
Yeah, I just can't pretend to. I've taken enough pills that have blasted me off to space that I just don't see the difference between a pill and a vaccine. So I love to party. But I'm just saying, I don't know totally what the difference is. But, I don't want to cast any doubt. Just go get either of them. If one of them works, whatever.
Yeah, please. Okay, let me just do a quick rundown of why Ben Simmons is better for the Nets than Kyrie Irving. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we talked about sort of Kyrie is a distraction. Regardless of how we all feel about Kyrie Irving, whether we support him, love him, or think he's, sending the wrong message to America, he is a distraction. And it has the potential to destroy the team. It does. Okay? It can implode. It can force James Harden to be on one side and Kevin Durant on the other and make people pick sides and whatever. It could be bad. If Ben Simmons is brought in, there would be a honeymoon period with him that for at least 1 year, it would work out well. At least 1 year. Okay. Defense. This team lacks a defender on the level of a Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is the perfect defender for how the Nets play defense. They switch everything. So Ben Simmons, all those times that we watched DeAndre Jordan kind of half switch onto a ball handler, but really drop back into the paint. Imagine that's a ferocious Australian 6'11" Ben Simmons attacking that ball handler and then switching back and blocking shots at the rim, running all over the court, D'ing up LeBron, Anthony Davis. He has the versatility to guard every single player, probably except Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. that the Nets may have to face in the playoffs and in the finals. He can guard, potentially, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Ben Simmons brings that. Kyrie Irving does not bring that. Here's a closing lineup with Ben Simmons. Harden, Joe Harris, KD, Patty Mills, and Ben Simmons. 4 elite shooters, and Ben Simmons as the center.
That was perfect. That was 4 elite shooters and Ben Simmons.
And Ben Simmons. The perfect lineup for Ben Simmons and the Nets. So you have rim protection with KD on defense too, but you have Ben Simmons operating as a switchable defending 5, essentially. You can switch across. Obviously, Patty Mills is a little weak on defense, but you have him out there for shooting. You can sub out Patty Mills and put in, a bigger, like Paul Millsap, and make it a bigger lineup, or Blake Griffin. That closing lineup, yeah, it doesn't have the heights of Kyrie, KD, and James Harden in terms of offense, but defense, much more reliable and much harder to penetrate than the offense. And finally, last point.
Great.
Okay. LeBron James. Okay. I think LeBron has one more destination in him in his career. Okay. LeBron has been a vagabond in the NBA. He's played at home in Cleveland, played in Miami, back to Cleveland, now in LA.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron thinks globally. Okay, think about it. He played home. He played in
big markets.
Big markets, Miami, LA. He's missing New York. Okay. Ben Simmons is a clutch client. LeBron used to have a great relationship with Kevin Durant. LeBron has typically hated the Knicks for many, many years. He loves the Garden, but has hated the Knicks. Now, his former agent basically runs the team. But hey, LeBron has 2 years left on his contract. Bronny James graduates from high school in that time.
Wow, this is getting out there.
So LeBron at the end of his contract won't be as wed to Los Angeles. I know he has other kids. Won't be as wed to Los Angeles because Bronny will have graduated from Sierra Canyon High School. The Nets win the next 2 championships with Ben Simmons, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and LeBron joins the Nets as a super sub off the bench to join his client, Ben Simmons, and they win the next 3 championships. LeBron passes Jordan, and he becomes the official greatest player of all time.
How old is LeBron at this point?
45.
Yeah, okay. This is how far you have to reach to make a cogent Ben Simmons trade, is that it leads to a 45-year-old LeBron James somewhere down the line.
You tell me you don't want to see
No,
LeBron
I don't want to see that. No. I mean, no.
Stop it.
Authentically, no.
You used to get excited about Sean Kilpatrick, and you're telling me you say no to LeBron.
I still get excited about Sean Kilpatrick. Yeah, there's a lot in there that I disagree with, obviously. The idea that we want to trade away parts of the NBA's historically most efficient offense ever in history to get marginally better at defense and have basically an offensive liability, a guy who you can play hack-a-shack with, who has legitimate, take everything you dislike about Joe Harris, and you've been a staunch Joe Harris criticizer, let's say, for his off-season performances. Mike, this is good. You're getting roasted here. You're getting roasted and toasted, and then multiply that by a factor of 10 at least, at minimum, probably more like 10,000 with regards to the diminishing returns of Ben Simmons in the playoffs. He is targeted on offense. Everybody wants him to have the ball because they know that he's such a liability.
But the good thing about an offense is that he doesn't you can't force a guy to have the ball.
Yes, okay. You're playing 4-on-5 at that point, and
he just sits near the hoop. Just
Great.
waits by the hoop for the ball.
You said it perfectly. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there.
And on defense, he's locking down the other team. Here's the thing that we didn't talk about, and this is for your side, okay? Let's just say Kyrie Irving is traded and he doesn't retire, okay? Him with Joel Embiid would be...
Yeah, it would be sick.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. The Sixers would be better.
There it is.
Yeah. So that's kind of why you don't do it. That's the end of... So manufactured tension will always come back to a point of one of us will admit we're wrong. And Brian's wrong.
Well, it's always the thing is, we're, at our hearts, we're not grifters. We really believe what we say on this show. Okay, Mike? We've never, and so when we go into the manufactured tension, we will probably invariably have to reveal our true thoughts because that's the way we are. But that was fun.
Kyrie
That was a good
is
exercise.
a much better player
I feel like we should formulate it more strictly. We should do like a proper structured debate, like do each point individually, like more like drill down. I don't know. We could.
Yeah,
That was
no,
good
that
exercise
sounds right.
though. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't do debate. Did you do
Debate bros? No.
Were you one of the? I was a math wizard.
Were you? I didn't know that about you.
Elementary school,
No,
not I got aged out of it.
No, I watched TV after school. That's what I did. I went home and watched.
Latchkey kid.
Yeah.
I hate that term so much. It's so lame.
What is it? I don't even
A
know what that.
latchkey kid.
See, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's a kid who is basically his parents. They're like the parents were working, and you would just like go home and open the door, and
There it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we go, can we just talk about this Terrence Williams dental scam real quick?
Sure.
I'm sure most people who are listening to this pod already know this, but Terrence Williams and about like 6 other Nets were indicted as part of a federal investigation.
It's not good.
For defrauding like the NBA veterans players health insurance fund.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of former Nets who are tied to this. Terrence Williams was the leader, but Allen Anderson was in there. Sebastian Telfair, who was not a Net, but very well known. Darius Miles, who I thought was on to bigger and better things at this point.
No, Telfair had a cup of coffee with the Nets at some point, didn't he?
Did?
I think so.
It's probably right. And Brian's probably his like favorite player who did the least. Chris Douglas Roberts.
And I'm going to keep telling you to stop dead naming this man. It's a problem. He changed his name to Supreme Bay. Guys, respect the name change.
So, and I'm reading this directly from NBC's page because they broke the biggest part of the story, but this is incredible. So Terrence Williams, I think we all remember him. I remember being excited about him because I always get excited about the 6'10" athletic, semi-ball handling big who ends up not doing anything. But I'm always excited about that player. That was Terrence Williams. So Terrence Williams was the orchestrator of this scheme, and he recruited other players by supplying them with fake invoices to support their fraudulent claims. And to give those fake invoices, he then got a kickback. Federal prosecutors say at least 10 co-conspirators paid kickbacks to Williams, totaling approximately $230,000. What he would have them do is claim that they needed certain medical procedures, dental procedures, and like all of them put in basically the same tooth that they were getting the procedure.
Same tooth.
Well, this is where the story turns. However, when Supreme Bay, also known as Chris Douglas Roberts, didn't pay his kickback, Terrence Williams took to impersonating the health plan administrators to intimidate him.
Oh, boy.
Williams is accused of creating a phony email from an administrator and falsely raising a potential issue with Douglas Roberts's, Supreme Bay's, reimbursement in an effort to frighten him into paying his kickback.
He did the pirate code. He violated the pirate code. It's amazing.
So, and I didn't read, is then Supreme Bay, is he like the informant in this situation? Did he go to the authorities and...
That would be insane if he did that. I mean, that would be really dumb. I really do recommend everybody. There's a 20-minute interview with Supreme Bay, which from like 2 years ago, will reveal a whole lot about his thinking in general. But yeah, he's struggling, and it seems like has a tenuous grasp on reality. So a difficult person to be one of your cohorts in a criminal scheme, I think, and one that you probably will instantly regret working with. But yeah, so it's possible that he was an informant without realizing it, or I don't know, that whole kind of thing. I didn't read through all the way to that point, though. It's possible, but the whole thing that it's so net centric, and especially from that era, is pretty. It's chef's kiss. I mean, that's the way to end that 1270 era of Nets basketball, because that was the worst team in basketball history. Yeah,
and to think that this scam was born in that locker room amongst those players, eventually those relationships, and obviously, we can, it's not good what is alleged to have happened.
What is good? Let's meta-ethically.
I feel bad for these. I also feel bad for, I don't know. Do you feel bad? I guess it's I don't know where they are in their life. Maybe they really need the money, and that doesn't mean they should steal it. But oh, wait. Oh, we have breaking news.
Oh gosh.
All right. For the podcast audience, we're gonna end the show here, and then we're gonna attach O'Brien.
What is it, Mike?
Shams is tweeting that Kyrie will not play or practice with the team until he is a full participant.
Great.
So let's let people behind the curtain. Do you think that most of our show, I feel like most of our manufactured tension was fine? Or do you think that, I think what we should do, you and I, is we should just do a new open, talk about that, and then like the rest of the show is like fine, be like, hey guys, we didn't record this, we recorded this part later. Does that feel good to you?
Fast forward, here we go. Like, thanks for watching, everybody. And then like, let's go record the new open.
Yeah. That was a good close.
That was it. Bye, everybody. This will be like this is like a James Joyce novel of a podcast here. Yeah.